Hey everyone, welcome to HR Tech Talks. I'm so glad to have you here and looking forward to, as always, a great conversation with a new leader in the space who's doing good work. And we always talk to these awesome companies. I have so much fun with it, and don't tell anybody, but this is one of the most fun parts of my job. If you're out there listening in, watching the replay, doesn't matter if you're live or not. Hello, glad to have you with us, and thanks for spending some time with us today. Today, we're going to dive into employee experience. And one of the challenges around that is it's this thing that feels very fluffy and amorphous, we'll just say, and it's hard to actually tack down how to measure that, how to understand what's going on there, and how to actually lead to the right impacts that we want. So we're going to talk about how to do those things with Megan Mascarello. Goodness, struggled on all the M's there, from Tivian. She was actually on the podcast with us last year under a different company name, but strangely, she's at the same company. They just rebranded. So we'll hear about that story a little bit. We'll hear about some new acquisitions they made that give them some more insight into what's happening in that space. And just to give a quick shout out to the team at Tivian, they actually won an HR Tech Award last year for the work that they're doing in the space of understanding employee experience and helping to measure engagement and understand what's happening in the workforce in a really powerful way. So all the good things I can say about them don't compare to how wonderful Megan is. So I'll go ahead and bring her on and welcome her to the episode. Hey, Megan, glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure, Ben.
Yeah, for sure. So before we dive into some of the fun things I was setting up for the audience, would you take just a minute or two and either remind the people who have seen you before or tell the people that have seen you the first time a little more about who you are and what you do, please?
Not a problem. Hi, my name is Megan Mascarello. I am the North America Director at Tivian for Marketing and Business Development. Been with the company for almost 3 years now. I come from the marketing space, specifically within the media and advertising world. And so to join the HR tech environment was definitely a transition, but one that fed into my purpose that is definitely fueled by the company Tivian. And Tivian, we are an employee and customer experience management platform where we really focus around how do you get deep into the why of a customer or an employee's experience through ways of assessment, artificial intelligence, and the traditional technologies that can help you assess, identify, and take action. And one of the newest and latest things that many of you have probably seen in the news is that we recently acquired a company called GuideSpark. And GuideSpark basically is a company that took the MarTech approach of segmented and unique approach and messaging to a customer and actually flipped that. And now we incorporate that into MarTech for employee experience. And so this has allowed us to be the first in the marketplace HR technology company to have a full end-to-end employee experience solution that can really help any organization thrive and reach their fullest potential. So, exciting stuff.
We're going to go into all kinds of fun stuff today, but one of the things that you and I were chatting about before we started recording is this idea that for many of the HR leaders I talk to, if you told them that you can actually measure the communications you're sending and you can see who's opening those and you can see who's taking action and clicking or reading or following, you can see those kind of things, that would blow their minds. But if I told you that in marketing, you'd say, yeah, we've been doing that for years. And so I don't know why there's this gap there. There's this opportunity for us, I guess we'll say today, there's an opportunity for us to educate on that. Because you mentioned MarTech and stuff, and you're throwing all the things that are common in your world as a marketing leader. And yet for HR leaders, that's still this different thing that they just haven't had a chance to experience. So I'm hoping today we'll get into some of those kinds of things, talk about how we can use that stuff to measure the impact and see what we're doing and all that. That was kind of the setup that I put on the episode. So I'm gonna put all the burden on you to make sure we get that accomplished at some point in this conversation today. But on the way there, one of the things that you mentioned to me as we're getting ready is this idea that, we'll think all the ways we can call it, the great resignation, the great reshuffle, the great, what else did you call it? You had some other words you threw out there.
Yeah.
All those things are happening. I mean, that's happening, right? And there was talking about it. And I think the tools that Tivian offers, the way you're serving your customers, gives them the chance to get a real grip on that. Would you agree?
Definitely, for sure. I mean, in looking at some of the recent stats that have been coming out as the great resignation, great attraction is still continuing to unfold, 45% of workers right now are currently looking for new jobs and plan to hopefully have a new job in the next 60 days. But what's been really interesting to see, though, is of the 4.5 millions of US workers that left their jobs at the end of last year, most of them are going into fields or into industries and new roles that are completely different from the ones that they left. And so when we look back and we assess, well, why such behavior? A big factor in that is that people really want to feel valued. They want to feel heard. They want to feel like their job is a part of their well-being, is a part of who they are as a person and their cultivation of their talents and their profession. And so it's really forced a lot of companies to really assess what their culture is, what they're really providing, what makes their company attractive, and how are they planning on retaining their key talent, and really developing and growing their talent across the board. So it's been a very eye-opening experience, but it's been fun for companies like Tivian because we're like, hey, we can help you do that. That's exactly what we do. This is exactly what we do every day. And so we're able to offer solutions to our customers where we can track and assess and engage the employees from the very, very first day that they start all the way through their entire journey. And as you were speaking to earlier, Ben, when it comes to how do you then communicate, right? So just quickly, you send out an assessment, you analyze the data, you identify your room for improvement or where you're really excelling, and then you're like, okay, what do I do next? So to have a very customized way of communicating and keeping the engagement with your employees is one that then takes it to the next level. None of us like to get those blanketed marketing emails or mass text messages. What do? We just delete immediately. Like, this isn't for me. I don't even know why I'm on the list. But if you were able to get an email or get a text or get some type of communication from your company that says, hey, we see you're interested in the leadership development program, and we also noticed that you haven't confirmed what your benefits are going to look like for the next year. You're like, oh, great, you actually giving me like a checklist, right? So being able to really feel like you're noticed, as well as being able to equally provide your insights, your opinions, and your feelings makes for a healthy culture, but also makes for higher retention. It makes for higher innovation. Companies that have more diversity in their culture, more inclusivity in their workforce, have over 20% higher chance of being more innovative. And more innovation leads to more revenue and growth. So it's a win for every party involved of an organization.
Awesome. You may kind of like a dueling stats here for a second because you're throwing out a bunch of good numbers and stuff. One of the things I was going to tell you is in our study we saw last fall on the great reprioritization, as we're calling it. I keep joking that it's much harder to say, but it's more accurately reflects what's happening because you even talked about some of the shifting in the jobs and careers and industries, things like that. One of the things that came out of that was if someone said, I don't feel supported by my leaders, they were twice as likely to leave, not at some vague point in the future, but in the next 30 days. And a big part of that we're hearing, we're talking to employers trying to understand, okay, what does supported mean? It comes down to someone is paying attention to me, someone is listening to me. And I know one of the key things that you do at Tivian is help with the listening piece of that, really understanding what people are thinking, what's on top of mind, so we can figure out how to actually, as you're saying, take action on that, right?
Yeah, so we go beyond to, most organizations and HR functions, they have their annual employee, employee surveys. They have, some of them even have kind of maybe quarterly pulses. But where Tivian, kind of branches out and distinguishes ourselves from the others is when we believe in a continuous feedback loop. Right. So we believe that you should always have from top down and then bottom up. But beyond that, we use our AI, we use our predictive analytics to then identify exact trends and behaviors, like Ben is saying, where this person is signaling, and we know off of historical data that if someone is saying they're not feeling supported by their leader, they are most likely to churn out in the next 30 days. So initially, when we work with a customer and we identify that behavioral pattern, we then will immediately have the solutions from a text perspective as well as from the mass comms, which we call Communicate XI, to then take action. But then imagine a year from now or 2 years from now, being able to go even deeper into those behavioral patterns and identify the same type of employee who at the same mark says that they would probably leave in 30 days, but you identify that 2 to 3 months earlier so that you can have the chance to really re-engage, resolve the issue before even getting into that 30-day window where you're going to probably see them churn out. So just the thought of how much money is saved by being able to be proactive instead of reactive is where Tivian really, really shines.
You talk about proactive, and one of the other aspects of that too is not just saying, hey, here's a blanket message to everybody, right? There are times where that has to happen, but the more times we can be targeted. Norma threw a comment in here that I think is really relevant. She said, that reduces noise, right? If every time I get in comms and it's for every single person, and sometimes it applies, sometimes it doesn't, I'll start to stop paying attention to those things. And
Right.
that's a big risk when you're just hammering people all the time versus, as you gave the example earlier on the benefits piece. Thanks, Norma, for the comment, by the way. The
Yeah.
benefits piece you mentioned, where it's like, hey, Megan, you have not elected your benefits yet. We want to double check and make sure which ones you want because we're trying to take care of you. We offer these for you, right? All those kind of things. And having someone see that versus just a, hey, figure this out. You may have done it, you may have not, just do it. It's a different feeling.
Right. And effectively communicating too, right? Because I think something else that has become more top of mind since we've all been embracing this remote hybrid workforce structure is being able to effectively communicate to each employee. And what I mean by that is identifying and understanding more the psychological safety that employees are going through, or certain types of challenges or disabilities, if you will, that people have, and being able to say, hey, this person doesn't do well or engage or comprehend well with very long 5+ page documents. Wouldn't it be great if you could send them like a 1 minute and 20-second animated video that covers the exact same thing, right? So being creative in how you are effectively communicating is something else that, our Communicate XI by way of the GuideSpark technology really is going to allow us to take the insights and the engagements that we provide to a whole new level.
I want you to, you're a marketing pro by day. And so I want you to put that hat on for a second and give us some advice from someone who's outside of our bubble of HR. One of the things that I had a chance last fall to interview Manuela Breed from Siemens. She's one of their change transformation experts. And we talked all about change transformation and why they fail and what it takes to succeed and all these kind of things. And one of the things that she kept coming back around to was how important communication was to make this work. What's intriguing to me, or challenging for me, I guess, is that in the world of HR, we spend 99% of the time figuring out what we're going to do and 1% of the time telling everybody else what we did. But in the world of marketing, you say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And then we're going to plan a campaign. And here's how the multi-channel, and here's how we're going to reach everybody. And we're going to make sure that those people who like that medium are going to get something that way. What advice would you give the world of HR leaders about being better at communicating or building a campaign or just building that into their planning process? I don't know. Anything is better than where we are. I'll just say that.
Right.
But what advice would you give around those things? Seems how this is what you do, what's what you're trained at, what's what you're good at.
So I'll go ahead and knock out the sales response, right? Which would be go to Tivian.com and give me a call. No, but no, in all seriousness, the advice that I would give is much like you're saying, Ben. So it's really about thinking HR, the whole HR department and function. We have to start thinking about everything from a start to finish approach, right? So it's not just a matter of, okay, I sent out these notifications. I'm sending reminders 2 days before benefits close. It's really thinking, what is the objective? What exactly are you trying to achieve? Set metrics for yourself, especially right now when you look at companies and how they plan to attack and address culture and diversity and inclusion, and leadership and developing talent within the organization. Set goals for yourself, whether that might be, we want to have an engagement score after this campaign or after this survey that reaches at least 75%. Set goals for yourself, and then make sure that you are really equipping the other leaders in your senior leadership to lead by example. What I mean by that is you can't it's a lot easier to have an external person come in and tell everyone what you want them to hear. But when people hear the commitment and the strategy from the horse's mouth, from HR, from senior leaders, that tells them, okay, they're serious about this and they're really committed. And so once you're willing to make that stake, you have goals and objectives to achieve, and you make it to where it's a plan that might last you 9 months or a year, but it has a full project milestone plan. Then after that, now you just need to commit and stick to it. A lot of organizations make big plans and I have big ideas, but they don't really commit to the full term that they need to in order to really assess and see, does it work? Does it not work? They kind of give up or let it fall away too soon. So stay the course. Stay the course.
So for all of you listening out there, you did not hear her say, when you make the decision, it's done. No, that's the beginning, right? Everything else comes after you've made that decision, or you've chosen this direction, or we've chosen this benefit, or we've chosen to whatever it is. Everything after that is the real work. That's the hard work. And
yeah,
it
a
feels
great
like it's hard to
example
make
would be. Sorry to cut you off there, Ben.
You're fine. Go for it. You're fine.
Yeah, a great example would be looking at, I mean, diversity and inclusion is a big passion of mine as well. So while, yes, we do have more than that at Tivian, but when you look at the type of solution we have with Culture Quest, which is what Ben was saying earlier, we won last year's HR Tech Award for, the process that we have within that solution is you get that baseline assessment. You identify your problems and areas to improve from a very granular to overall organizational culture perspective. And then you have recommended next actions which help facilitate new programs, new best practice, new strategies. But then after that, you still have multiple pulses that go out. You're constantly getting feedback from the team as you're rolling out new programs and initiatives. How is it working? What would you like to see differently? And so you're assessing and doing evaluations consistently in real time, so that if something's not working, you are aware of that and you're like, great, let's pivot and move over to this. And so it's a constant evolution. And I think that's the other big thing too, is you're saying, Ben, it's not set it and forget it. You have to be willing to stay involved and think of it much like, back to marketing technology, but think of it much like the digital marketing space, where it's always evolving. It's always innovating into a different type of algorithm or new behaviors and patterns. So be present, be involved, but stay the course as far as stay committed to achieving the goals that you're laying out.
One of the things that you said a few minutes ago was setting a goal for yourself as a team, as a function, as an HR leader. And April chimed in and was like, why don't we do that more often? Basically, we should be setting our own goals. We always assume, we know what they should be doing, but part of our performance, part of the ability for us as HR leaders to actually influence the organization is being effective at our jobs. And too often it's, well, I sent that communication. I'm picking on all my friends because I've been there. I've screwed all this stuff up myself. So it's not just, slinging mud.
Yeah.
But we assume that I just did the thing and I'm good. And now that now that you're aware, now that Megan has told us that, if nothing else, benchmark against yourself. Say, last time, here's the response I got. Next time, I want to have this response. Even something as simple as that lets you see whether you're improving or not. And to your point again, Megan, a minute ago, you said, using that to decide the next step to take, maybe the step not to take, maybe we're going to keep doing this because it seems to be working. All those kinds of decisions you can make if you start actually measuring. But without that, you're making guesses, you're hoping, and you're always going to struggle with the impact you want to have and with the credibility with the rest of the business, because everybody else is measuring. Everybody else can point to their numbers and say, well, here's what we did last time and here's what we're doing this time. They can show those things. And this is one of those things it's going to take for HR to really step into the opportunity that's in front of us to really lead and engage and impact the business in a powerful kind of way. So sorry, I'll hop off the soapbox there. I got all excited, but
no, but it's true though, because there's HR. We have to support and enable HR leaders to be able to go to the rest of their senior leadership, to go to the purse holders, if you will, and be able to present a strong business case, a strong ROI as to why they need the support or the budget that they need to be able to roll out and implement these types of programs. And in the past, they haven't really been as supported and equipped to go in to meet with the CFO and be able to speak to bottom line impact and growth opportunities. And so being able to have partners like Tivian that can really work with you, not only to deploy and implement new solutions, new best practices, but then to also provide easily accessible reports that are one click away that you can immediately send out to the CFO or to the board or to any other leader and person within the organization, helps to then give HR a lot more credibility, a lot more validation that they're serious about what they're doing and they're doing it in a very strategic, tactical way, and not just from the feel good, warm and fuzzy approach that is often mislabeled on the HR team. So, which nothing's wrong with feels and love. So, by the way,
You know what? That I want to do a session just on that at some point. So I have a friend who I'm recording with next week, and it is Valentine's Day, and she said, can we have some fun with that? I said, yes, absolutely. We should be loving our people, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I have a good friend, George Rogers, who's here in the comments. And when I hang up the phone with him, I said, I love you, brother. And he says the same thing to me. Like, it's nothing wrong with those things. We, for some reason, feel like there should be this segment, or we should hold off on that. But I'll throw this out your way. I'll get your take on this, okay? Because this is one of the things I shared last week on a session, that I hate the term "put your mask on first." Everybody talks about that, and I'm a fan of do not burn out, please. Like, take care of yourself. Self-care is important. But the whole idea of put your mask on first, just so you survive, I hate the connotation that if you don't do this, there's no other option for you. Right. And so the way I've been phrasing it instead is there's this amazing Jewish ceremony called serving from a full cup, where you pour until your cup is full and you keep pouring, and the overflow is a representation that we can serve someone else better when our cup is full. When our cup is full, overflowing, we can take care of someone else better. And I like the connotation of that better, because most of the HR leaders, they love their people, but they also are servants at heart. They want to take care of them. They want to serve them well. They want to serve the business. All those kind of things are where their effort comes from. It's not about, I just want to survive and get through this. And so, I don't know.
I love that, and I agree with that 100%, Ben. So I like to come from the thought of, or the mentality of, I can't help others if I'm not well or whole or present myself. So I like the idea that you do need to it's not about being selfish, but you need to be fulfilled, or you need to have that purpose or that drive within yourself in order to give, right? You can't, if you have nothing to give, then it's all for nothing. But at the same time, whether you're in HR or any other part of an organization, it's still a family, and it's still a we. Like I always say, there's nothing you can do in a company that's just you by yourself. It's always a we in some form or fashion. And so because of that, how can we be able to go above and beyond for our customers if we're not going above and beyond for each other? If we're not being a real inclusive and loving and connected culture internally, where we don't have to all be besties or know everyone's birthdays, but it's about genuinely seeing each other as people and valuing what everyone is bringing to the organization. That when you create that kind of bond and that kind of healthy environment, your customers, your external partners, everyone will have no doubt that they have chosen the right company to work with, because you will be leading by example. You'll be walking the talk, as they say. So I'm very big on that. And at Tivian, we're big on practicing what we preach as well, even if that means we identify areas of improvement on our own side. That's fine. You can never stop improving.
Yes. Well, that goes back to that really caring about each individual person and what they have to bring. Goes back to that equity component you mentioned earlier. Companies that focus on those things do better, right? There's some good science, some good data there, some evidence to prove that. But really, it comes down at a micro level, not the big high level company, it's 20%, but at a micro level, when Megan feels like her leaders care about her, they support her, they want her voice and her ideas to come out whenever she opens her mouth. They're like, can't wait to hear what she has to say.
Right.
That always leads to a better experience for that person because
Mm-hmm.
they know that you care. And so again, all these kind of big, it's easy to say, well, big picture, the company benefits from this or more innovation. That's all true. But then we boil it down to the individual level. How does that person feel when that happens? And that's, again, that's what really gets me excited, because I want my family members to feel like that. I want my friends, I want everybody I run across to feel like that in their work. We know that that unfortunately is not the case for a lot of people. It's not how their experience is in the workplace. But we can keep working this from our ends, and we can keep encouraging the HR leaders out there that are listening right now that it's possible. It absolutely is.
It's definitely possible. And what's always good to remember, especially for the HR leaders and the recruiters and talent, management teams, is that you don't have to have all the answers, but being able to show an employee or show a prospective candidate your commitment to thoroughly understand and evaluate where your organization is at, and having real, genuine care in trying to constantly improve and evolve and be the best version of yourselves. That's the kind of signals that someone needs, especially a woman of color. It's Black History Month here in the US. So knowing that less than 4% of the tech workforce in this country is made up of minority individuals, I know that I can't go into a company and expect them to have 50+% minority representation, or that they might not even have yet a person of color in a senior leadership role. But if I meet that company and they tell me, hey, we're working on this and we're learning about ourselves, and in the meantime, here's our initial steps, and here's our vision and kind of our long-term and short-term goals, that tells me they care enough to try. And that's all you can ask of anybody. And so we have to just give ourselves the chance to just try. And hopefully you'll try with a partner that can give you the support and the resources that you need to really execute and deliver on your vision. So
I
come
wish I've
back
been
to my
taking
next
notes
TED
on some of those things you just dropped on. Goodness gracious. I've had so much fun with this. So I know we're getting close on our time. If someone wants to connect with Tivian, wants to follow the company and the work that you and the team are doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way you can do that is to go to Tivian.com. There are buttons and clicks all around the website where you can contact us, learn more about specific solutions and information. You can also find us on social media, primarily LinkedIn at Tivian, and then obviously my personal handle, Megan Mascarello on LinkedIn as well. So reach out to us. We are happy to have a conversation with you, and I'm happy to help you guys achieve all of your 2022 goals as well.
Awesome. Well, I made sure and tagged you in this episode on LinkedIn, so everybody should click right over directly to Megan and tell her that you loved her on the show today, because you did. You know it. And reach out to her if you want to know anything else about what her and the team at Tivian are doing. So Megan, thank you again, my friend. It's so good to see you, and glad you're well.
My pleasure. My pleasure. See you all next time. Thank you so much.
Goodness, what a blast. So much fun. And as you can see, she's super sharp. I think I said that last time I had her on the show, like a year ago. My lead-in was, she's super nice and she's super sharp, and she's still the same, as you can tell. So thank you all for joining in, to Norma and Karen and April and George and anybody else that chimed in that I didn't see. Thank you for this. If you're watching this on the replay, remember, you can comment at any point during the episode. People will see that commented before and can chime in and converse with you even after the fact, asynchronously. It's kind of cool. Neat technologies that we have today. So thank you all for joining me. Catch you again next week, our new episode of HR Tech Talks. Until then, be well, set some goals for yourself as HR leaders, and serve from a full cup as well. Thank you.